I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you
Yes.
need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not gonna go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new
Conspiracy
content.
confirmed.
But
Yes.
but
We are back with you guys again for the second time today, but this time it's not Formula Fords. It's Spec Racer Fords. Close, but not quite the same. These cars are actually cars that I enjoy because they've got fenders on them, Bobby. And I think when it comes to you, oh, by the way, my name's Adam Thompson again, joined in the booth by Bobby West, a guest for this week while we get our footing with Randall McGrew. But Bobby, these ones have fenders. You like cars with fenders.
Yeah, far safer. And also far better when you only got a single screen.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right, Randall, we're hopping here into the Spec Racer Fords at Ledenon or Ledenon. Been watching a bit of practice here. This track looks way more treacherous than the one we just came from of Sebring.
Yeah, I had to consult the track map a few times watching some of these drivers get around here. It's windy. And talk about elevation changes. This place is a natural bowl. It's all the infield sections, or what we're calling the infield sections, are all downhill. A lot of the hairpins have go from being downhill to being uphill. So we're gonna see some interesting things happen in this race. I'm pretty sure Bobby called this earlier a mistake generator, and based on a few of the onboards I've been watching, that is 100% true.
So we're going to pull up the track map here for you guys, and we're going to go again on lap here. We're going to go with Megan Overstreet this time. You can see her coming around right now. We will go ahead and go on board with her when we get closer. Randall, I'm going to let you walk us through this lap because I don't know anything about it. So here we go.
As she's coming through the last real corner of the course, we have another slight bend as they come up the hill. But that's the last real corner. She's going to take to the right side of the track as she crosses the line. It's going to be a little bit blind. You're going to have a good view of the first corner right as you start to turn in. This is the triple left-hander. It's going to catch a lot of people out. And each corner or each apex in this triple left-hander is a little bit tighter than the last one, which means you're turning the car and trying to brake it at the same time. It's very difficult. Hops over that curb on the right, six to the left as she comes down the hill into Virage DuPont and gets that first hairpin out of the way, looking pretty stable through there as she comes up to the quarry corner. Another hairpin to the left. This one not at the bottom of the hill, very flat. Elevation starts to dip away as you get around it. Coming through turn 7, gonna just straighten that out as much as possible. 6 to the left, we got another downhill corner as they come into Le Cabaret, and another tight corner where the elevation changes at the apex. So probably going to be able to get to the throttle really easily here. We see really using the track limits, the white line's more of a guideline than anything, really abusing the width of the track. And then La Servi here, turn 11, very tight corner where the elevation changes from uphill to downhill right at the apex. Then the run down to the bowl, the last corner. Very tricky to get the braking right. You're trying to go over the curbs to straighten it out as much as possible and get that straight line braking, but you're turning the wheel the whole time. It's going to be a real mistake generator. I've seen a lot of cars run wide there at the exit.
So, that was a lap. Megan ran a 1:31.062. She's 0.3 off the leader right now. Dudu Castro, this guy is flying, and I know that there is probably a guy in here that knows how a quite fast Doo-Doo is, and it's going to be Bobby. Have you raced him before, and can you keep this up?
Yeah, Doo-Doo's a regular, and yeah, Doo-Doo is usually far ahead of me. He's pretty quick, and I expect him to be towards the front row of this qualifying session, and then leading the majority of the race.
So I'm looking here.
Fast guy.
Sorry about that. I'm looking here at his team name. It is Texaco Esports by TK. Does he clearly is got to be fast if he's on a Tony Kanaan team, huh?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, they're all pretty quick in there, I think.
So, Randall, what are your predictions here for this race? We're watching qualifying. Still have about 10 minutes left. Actually, while we're talking about qualifying here, it is an open qualifying format, Bobby, which I absolutely love. It is hell on a broadcaster, though, to try to keep up with everything going on. But how does qualifying work in these spec racers? Do you stay out? Is there like a tire shelf life or a tire limit to where the tires start to fall off? Do you come in to get fresh tires and don't take fuel, lighter fuel loads? What is the secret to unlocking a good lap time?
Spec Racer Ford, complete opposite to the Formula Ford. The tyres will be good for 2 laps. After that, you'll start noticing a massive drop-off in performance and speed. So you'll want to come back in, get a new set, and go again.
When it comes to fuel, does lighter fuel help them? Does heavy fuel? Does fuel not matter that much?
Fuel tyres will be far more dependent over the fuel in these.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is good to know. And wouldn't you got Antonio Reese up here again, 3rd place. He was in 1st there for a while in the Formula Fords we just came from. Still, Masters class up there in 3rd place, Randall. They're coming out showing pretty strong this morning or this afternoon or this evening or tomorrow, wherever you are.
Yeah, just because you're old doesn't mean you're slow. And looks like he maybe greased up the tennis balls on his walker this time, and he's got it up there at P3, only half a second off Doo-Doo's time, which is pretty darn quick. You see, he's faster than Green and Overstreet, even in the Spec 1 cars. So he's got some talent, got some speed around here.
Speaking of drivers we just saw, that is not a good time to go to Wilson. But speaking of drivers we just saw in the Formula Ford race, got Wilson Bruce Orozco again leading the Spec 2 class as well.
Yeah, he was very quick in practice as well at the sharp end of the leaderboard, even further up than he is now in qualifying. So it makes you wonder, maybe he's got that 1 lap speed and he just needs to work on keeping that race pace up and making fewer mistakes. And he'll find himself probably registering for Spec 1 in a couple seasons.
Stevie, you mentioned tire fall off in the Spec Racer Fords. Again, this is going to be a 40-minute race, I believe. How do you go about this race? We saw Bruce Orozco start to fall back a little bit towards the end of the Formula Ford race just because of the amount of people he was battling. Is that more important here to try to keep the tires clean? Can you see fall off? Can you overheat them pretty easily?
Yeah, they can be overheated very easily, and you'll notice a significant drop in grip at that point. But you'll still want to keep the same tyres for the duration of the race. They're best for the 2 laps for qualifying. Then you want some new ones. If you keep them like within a good working range for the race, then the pace won't drop off too badly. But a track like this, where I was running the other day, in the official races, it's easy to overcook the tyres here. So many slow corners, so many acceleration zones.
So you mentioned that triple apex turn 1. You can see it on the track map. It actually almost looks like 3 corners, but it's almost 1 corner as well. You called that the mistake generator. How do you feel? What do you think is going to happen? And is that the most treacherous part on the racetrack, especially a lap 1, turn 1 deal?
I think, the 3rd part of that is going to be, especially on lap 1, where it's everyone together, it's going to be tough to get through there cleanly, with the right-hand kink as well afterwards. Turn 6 as well at the top of the hill, I think, will be the other, or the first top of the hill, be the other one to watch, just because it's so flat, and you want to shift up right before you brake. So some people might be overshooting there, braking too late, and of all the, you're talking about like being able to use all the tarmac on the exit of turn 6. If you so much as look as the off track, you get the 1x.
Right. And we actually did talk about that on the break between last race and this race. You guys have a clean driver program as well. What entails that? Is it X's? Is it incident? How do you about the program, and what points get assigned?
Yeah, you get bonus points. You get 2 bonus points if you run the entire race with no incidents, so no off tracks, no car contact, no loss of control, and you get 2 bonus points for that. You also get a bonus point if you only get 1 off track through the race. So, you know, sometimes mistakes happen, so you get 1 for that. It's a slight consolation prize, shall we say.
Absolutely. And it's funny, Jorg's car. Oh, we're back now. We're going to let this TV camera switch to the front of this car. And I want everybody to bask in the glory of what Jorg's beautiful yellow paint job is for this Spec Racer Ford. Unbelievable paint job, Jorg. If you don't win the race, you win paint job battle in my heart. So, yeah. Beautiful paint job, Jorg. Sitting back there right now in 16th position overall, 4th in class. Not as quick as he was in the Formula Ford, Randall.
No, not as quick, but also not terribly slow. This track is definitely going to play towards experience over raw speed, I think. The more experienced drivers are probably going to be a little less prone to mistakes. I'm guessing some of the Masters drivers won't be pushing their car to 10/10ths. Maybe keep a little bit back, try to save those tires as long as they can. Make as few mistakes as possible. And I think that's ultimately going to be what is the key to having a really good finish here, is just keeping it on the island.
Yep, absolutely. So while we're talking about islands and bridges and tunnels, I can't remember what corner was called the bridge corner, Randall, and you said, but weird, it's not even a bridge there. And then Bobby said, oh, I think the whole track's on a... Makes sense. But bridge corner here, what do you think? That's one of the tough ones, isn't it?
Bridge corner looks, honestly, out of all these crazy corners, bridge corner looks the most straightforward. The one I'm really keeping my eye on, there's actually 2 corners, turns 10 and 11. The exit of 10 is very blind, and you need it to be just right to set up for that really tough hairpin at turn 11 and at the top of the hill. And I think that's going to catch a lot of people out. I think we're going to see a lot of people run wide on the exit of 10, end up in the gravel, and completely blow turn 11.
We're about to see right here what we're talking about. Here comes Megan getting set up for this hairpin. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. And it's uphill, too. And these cars do not have the power that, like you talked about. Some of the overtakes are limited just because this is way more of a momentum-driven car than it is a, you know, like a GT3, for instance, or a, you know, just a big old beady NASCAR or something like that. Kind of like your Ford FR500 that you run is very momentum-driven. So when it comes to momentum-driven, where are the best overtaking opportunities?
The best overtaking opportunities are going to be in some of the trickier braking zones. If you're better under braking, you're going to be able to really have a leg up on your competition. Also, the last corner, getting a good run out of the last corner is going to be absolutely key. Not only is it uphill, but there's a long full throttle section after that last corner. And if you get it wrong, that's just going to be tenths that are bleeding away that entire start-finish straight.
Yep, absolutely. And coming to you, Bobby, I'm looking at the leaderboard here on the left. Obviously, S1 is red. If you guys hadn't watched previous broadcast, S1 is I ratings of 3,000 or over, while S2 is I ratings underneath 3,000, with Masters being the 60-year-old and over division. I'm seeing a bit of a trend here. S1 guys are definitely up there. I mean, top 3 really, 6th, 5th, and 6th, all S1, and then S2, 7th place, with Bruce Orozco in first place right now in S2. So that's holding steady. But again, when it comes to the Masters, they throw a wrench into everything.
Yeah, there's a full range of abilities and I-rating skill levels in the Masters class. You know, they can be competing for the front of the overall standings, or mixing up with the Spec 2 races.
Yep, they can. And while we're on this subject, we're going to go over points with you guys one more time as Antonio Reese turns it into almost thought he was from Japan. He's not. He's definitely not. But tried to turn his Spec Racer Ford into a drift car. Didn't quite work out. But points is 100 for first place, and it keeps going down. And as you said, Bobby, in the last race, everybody's racing for position, for points. Each points is paid out per overall position, so there are no class position points. If you finish first in class, but you finish 10th on the road, you get paid out for 10th place overall.
Yeah, absolutely. You get a good result in Spec 2, for example. You know, top 5 finish, that's a big points day.
Absolutely. So, Randall, we're going into this race here. What is your strategy if you are, let's say, Jason Green, who absolutely has just pinned it into the second row? I haven't been looking at him. Mr. Jason Green again from Texas. Clearly, this is his car, but if you're Jason Green, you're starting in second. Do you try to get around doo-doo early, or do you stay back, keep those tires clean, keep them cool, not burn them off?
That's a really tough call. It's going to be what the start looks like. If you have a good run through the triple left, maybe try to go for that lead early and establish yourself at the front of the field. But if not, my strategy would be to tuck in behind Castro, try to keep the pressure on him as much as possible, possibly just use that pressure to generate mistakes. But more importantly, keep the nose clean, minimize mistakes, keep it on the island, maybe save a little bit of fuel, but I think it's mostly going to be about tire saving than anything else.
Yep, I think you are right about that. We've got about 45. I'm just kidding. We have about 15 seconds left worth of qualifying here. And as you guys saw in the last one, it really depends if a driver starts their lap. So right now we're looking at the 5 car. York is about to start his lap. He should be the last one across the line unless the 414 is going to be able to get there as well. So maybe Ken might be the final driver. So we're going to stay on here with Ken. We're going to watch to see his lap. So we've got about another minute and a half. Ken's got to pull it out of the bag here. Whatever he's got left, wring the neck of this Spec Racer Ford. A fellow American, as I might say, and no offense, Bobby, America's better than the UK. But anyways, back to the racing here. Ken through turn, I guess we'd say 4 now, and this is, Randall, what you're saying right here. You've got this uphill. This is where that hairpin is that you're talking about, right?
No, it's the next run up the hill that you're going to be looking out for, that kink to the left before the actual hairpin, but that has a blind exit. It's really, really tricky. We're going to see him run back down the hill, then up the hill again. One thing also to note, this track has a pretty straightforward pit exit, but it does spit you out into that triple left. And if faster cars are coming as somebody's exiting the pits, they could run a little bit too wide and there could be contact. I've seen it happen a few times in practice. And oddly enough, it worked out the worst for the person on the inside more often than on the outside. So as you're coming across the start-finish line, you're looking left to see that first apex, but you need to keep an eye on that pit exit. Make sure there's nobody coming out.
It's funny you mentioned that. We were on board with Megan Overstreet when that happened to her. There was a driver coming out while she was going into turn 1, and she had to hold that inside line through turn 2, and it will destroy all of your speed, but at the same time, like, you've got to, I mean, what do you do? Like you said. But anyways, Ken Poulin cannot improve. What about Wayne Buttermore here across the line? Still not able to improve, and Wayne was the last driver. So we're going to bring up the grid for you guys and see if we can get it a little better. I'm going to try to, hopefully. We will. We'll have one driver on track of Ken. When Ken gets off track, we will get the grid up here for you guys, and we're going to get it right into the race. Get off the track, Ken. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, now. There it is. All right, we got Dudu Castro there in first place with Jason Green in second. S1 taking 1, 2, 3 with Alice Pleva in third. Now, Antonio Reese is going to be the first driver outside of S1, and he's a master, and he is sandwiched by more S1 drivers in Megan Overstreet, Claudio Gardini, Flavio Andalo with Wilson Bruce Orozco, the first S2 driver in 8th place, Jim Brewster in 9th with Daniel Elwood in 10th. Randall, take us through the rest of it.
We have Kurt Nunez there in P11. Andrew Love taking P12. P13 is going to be Arnis Yursevics, easy for me to say, followed by Jesus Rodriguez. In 15th place, we're going to have Tom Gradwell. Jeez. Adam, what did you spike my drink?
Maybe.
P16, Joshua Justice. P17, Todd Martin. P18, Brad Cathcart. P19, Jurg Manny. P20, Paolo Brem. And P21, Wes Shiflett. P22, Russell Telker. P23, Adam Bradshaw. P24, we just saw him get complained at by Adam. Ken Poulin got some last-minute practice there.
We got Paul Jackson there.
Yeah,
sorry, we got Paul Jackson there in 25th with Gary Wobolt there in 26th. Wayne Buttermore 27th with Christian Kabenka, who was shouting out Megan in the last race, starting in 28th. Jeff Jacobson in 29th with Jason Greider in 30th. Now, when it comes to Christian Kabenka, Bobby, I've watched a couple of these races, and they were broadcasted by somebody else, and Christian normally doesn't start this far back.
No, I think it's something he's trying out this season because he did it last week, isn't he? He's obviously starting at the back, see how far he can come through. So keep an eye on him towards the end of the race, see how far he gets.
All right, Bobby, we're going to do it again. Give me your predictions for Masters win, S1 and S2 win.
I think Castro is going to be the guy to beat here for the overall. Reyes looks pretty quick for the Masters, but I'm going to go with Andrew Love for the Spec 2. I saw him on Thursday. He was pretty competitive.
All right. Well, we're about to go green already. Looks like a bit of a shorter pace lap here. So, Randall, I'm going to let you take it away. Channel your inner Darrell Waltrip here, Randall. Give us a boogity boogity boogie or something.
Coming out of the last corner, making the slow climb up the hill, the pace car diving into the pits, leaving the field in Castro's hands, and he's going immediately. Gets a good jump there over green, and he's pulling away. He is gapping early, even moving over to try to break up any sort of slipstream or help that inside line, making sure Green has his hands full coming into T1. We see this triple left. They're running too wide throughout the pack here, still trying to sort it out. The front, the leaders are starting to get single file. We have 3 wide possibly? No, 2 wide as they come through that last apex, and then the run down to turn 5, the first hairpin on the track, the very bottom of the hill. See the leaders are making their way through there now. The rest of the pack is getting sorted out pretty quickly.
That was an whoa, as we saw a bit of a spin, almost spin there by Russell Telker. He was able to keep it on the track. I was just about to say how clean it was again. This is amazing for the second time today. What an amazing league that we've got going on. And also, before we get back into the racing here, we were talking about the lack of drivers a bit, Bobby, but we've got 30 in this field, so it's looking like a good turnout for our spec racers.
Yeah, we usually get quite a lot of people in this league, so yeah, it's a decent turnout. I think summer plays some aspect to it, but yeah, there are plenty of people who provide us on track action.
Absolutely. We've got Antonio Reese, who's able to hold his position right now for the Masters, still sitting P4. Megan Overstreet there in P5. Gaps, as you can see, are to the leader right now. So the gaps, we will get intervals up as the gaps start to spread out and the intervals get a little bit closer together. Randall, everyone's keeping it super clean. We got through lap 1 on cold tires.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the entire field was a little nervous, except for Castro, about how this first lap was going to play out, and was taking it very easily. We don't see a lot of big movers on the leaderboard. That gap that Castro opened up early has already come down. Pleva is now pretty much on his tail, though he has a little bit of trouble with that last apex and the left-handers, and put Green right on his bumper as they come around the bridge corner and up towards the quarry corner. Right now, it looks like everybody's just kind of trying to settle in, find their positions, start doing their fuel management, and try to keep those tires good as long as they can.
So I'm looking here for the biggest movers right now, and the biggest mover I see on the leaderboard is Jason Greider, up 3 positions from the start, but is he?
I don't think he actually took to the grid.
Oh, how has he gained 3 positions? That's interesting. Christian Kabenka is also out as well. We may have had an incident here. Nope, Christian. Okay, no incidents. We're going to go ahead and go back to the racing here. All 3 of those drivers, we've got Jason Greider, Jeff Jacobson, and Christian Kabenka did not take to the track. So we've got 27 drivers. Wayne Buttermore, the final driver here on track, as we see a bit of a spin in front of him. Wes Shiflett, new guy to the league, able to keep, looks like, out of everybody's way. Don't quite know what happened to him to come back that far, but anyways, back to the leader. Dudu Castro is starting to pull a bit of a gap. I say a bit. It's still 4/10. And look at that slipstream down into turn 1, Randall. He gained about 3 tenths.
Absolutely. You got to get that last corner right. That slipstream's going to be hit, but he's going to run wide there after the second apex. Is going to come under pressure from Green, who's also under pressure from Race. So, yeah, this is turning out to be a really interesting start to this race. Castro probably licking his chops there, watching what's happening in the mirror, trying to open up this gap again.
Problem, that is great strategy, Randall, I will tell you that, but the problem with trying to open up a gap is you can start to overdrive the car, and that's one thing Dudu Castro cannot do in this position, is start to overdrive that car, start to overheat those tires.
That's absolutely right. If you start cooking the tires here, they're not really going to have a chance to cool down, and you're just going to be chasing it the rest of the race, or at least until the pit stop.
So there is a bit of an interval forming. Jorg Meine is on the tail end of this lead group, and then we're starting to see some intervals starting to happen here. Paulo Breme is about a second back, and then Bradshaw is almost a full 2 seconds back off of Breme. So, yeah, we're starting to see really 2 or 3 groups start to form here. Randall, were you expecting that? Look out!
Yes. Oh, and contact. He doesn't manage to get around him cleanly. He loses the front end of the car there. Russell Telker tried everything. He was all the way up on the curb and couldn't get around. That's 2 laps, and we've seen issues at that same corner.
Well, you did call it. I will tell you that you called it, and that is a great job by Russell just to get off the track there. We'll go ahead and get off of him. We don't need to rub any salt in any wounds there. Again, we were talking about incidents earlier, Bobby, while we're watching this battle up front. I mean, it's just amazing how clean the racers are. There will always be incidents when it comes to racing, but, you know, holding your brakes is a massive thing, and what just happened there was a great brake hold, but, you know, stuff happens sometimes, but yeah, it's amazing. We're sitting here with 29 drivers on the grid, or 27 drivers on the grid, and we've only had 1 serious incident.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys are very used to racing this league and racing this car in official races as well. And you become familiar with the people you're racing against, don't you? So you know who to trust and who to give space to. And yeah, it's generally a clean league. We do have, like, you know, as incidents accumulate, there's a threat of a drive-through penalty if you do get them. And to be honest, you could pick them up quite easily here. The exit of turn 6, that off track there, I've seen a few drivers running out there already. And that's a needless 1x there, but it's so tempting to go and get it.
Castro leads the way, still playing the part of Pied Piper, coming down the front straightaway. Not seeing much action up front here. I think they're just trying to settle in for the long haul. And we have Pleva is not letting him get away. Green's hanging right there with him. Antonio Reese is still holding on and maybe slipping just a little bit with Megan Overstreet right behind him. We see a few different lines developing through that triple left as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if one of those lines plays out later in the race. Maybe it's going to be a little less harsh on the tires.
Randall, if you are Alice, I'm so sorry. Again, I apologize.
It's Alesh.
I apologize for my Americanness again. But if you're Alesh right now, you can't be sticking this close to Castro. You know he's driving that car. Also, how much dirty air do these cars have? And that might be a question better fitted for Bobby, unless you've driven them before, Randall. How much dirty air do these have?
They are kind of in the shape of a wing, but I don't think aero plays too much of a role in a car this slow. They're not exactly downforce cars. I could see maybe some dirty air playing a little bit of havoc there. We see Alesh getting a little loose coming out of that corner. But for the most part, I don't think dirty air is going to be a huge thing here.
Yep, that's good to know. Real quick, while we're watching this battle on track, Alesh is getting closer. I'm going to try to shout out Justin Barrera real quick, saying slow motion, back to it now. Send it, he says. We are sending it, Justin. Michelle Lynn shouting out Megan Overstreet as well in the chat. It looks like Alesh is going wide here, but that was a bit of a late move, Randall.
Yeah, he's just taken back to the racing line. Alesh was never going to be there, so I think what you're seeing is just really high caliber driving. We saw Dudu immediately move into a defensive position coming out of the last corner, so he is not interested in relinquishing this lead. I'm guessing there's a bit of a points battle going on between these two because he does not want Pleva to get that bonus point for leading a lap, and he wants to lead as many as he can for those 3 bonus points for most laps led.
Is there a points battle going on between these two, Bobby?
Yeah, so the top 3 you're looking at here were the top 3 last week as well. Dudu missed the first round, but Jason's currently leading the standings and Alesh is second. So these 3 are the ones to watch right now.
Now, keep in mind, guys, this is a 3-race drop season, so they're only counting 9 of the 12. So with Dudu missing the first season, that's not going to hurt him that badly. He's still got 2 more after that as well. And let's be honest, if he wins every single one of them, can't really drop 100 points for every win, but I don't think that's going to happen. So right now, Jason Green is trying to stay as close as possible to these two, and it is amazing that these guys are battling as hard as they are, and they're still gapping 4th place.
Well, we saw a little bit of a fight there between Race and Overstreet last lap coming up the hill at the quarry corner, and it immediately generated a gap. So they're going to take that, stuff it in their hip pockets, and maybe try to keep from fighting and hope that these guys in front start doing it. We see Pleva there showing the nose coming into the first apex there.
Oh, no!
Castro runs wide. This could be it right here. They're going to be 2 wide coming down the hill. Castro's going to have the inside line for this right-hand kink and for the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. Ooh. And they're running really close. Castro's going to have the advantage, keep that lead spot for now, but cracks are starting to show.
This is unbelievable racing. I do believe Pleva's starting to get a wee bit, let's say, upset. Doesn't look like there's anything yet, but he's weaving, showing his nose, went inside that time into turn 1. Yeah, Castro went a little bit wide, definitely picked up an off track there, but was able to stay ahead. Randall, if you're Castro, is that an off track you want to pick up? Because I'm going to say yes to stay ahead.
Well, your preference would be to not run wide there at all, but if you're going to pick it up, the way that he did it, he was able to keep his foot in it pretty well and still get it woed up enough to make that final apex and keep the inside line through the right-handers that followed. But honestly, you want to try to minimize those mistakes. Yeah,
you absolutely do. Bobby, coming to you now. We're about 10 minutes into this. I can't believe 10 minutes have already gone. This race is absolutely insane at the moment. We're going to watch another battle. Do you think Pleva's going to stay right behind him here? Inside, outside. Castro defends the inside. Castro's going to try to go back outside. Not going to leave much room. He leaves no room at all. Gets back in front of Pleva again. Unbelievable into turn 1 every time. But, Bobby, back to you. When do we start thinking about pit stops?
I mean, the pit window should be opening now, but I'm expecting most of this league group to leave it to as late as possible, so around the 30-minute mark. Expect Jason Green to be the last to pit. He usually tries to get the last pit stop, save fuel at this stage, and get that bonus point that you were talking about. But, yeah, you'll start seeing maybe the midfield pitting anytime sort of soon going forward.
Over the course of this lap, it looks like Alesh has taken it a little bit easier, not sticking it to Castro as much as he was on previous laps. I think maybe he's overdriven it a little bit while trying to fight for that lead, and it's just letting the tires cool down a little bit, but also at the same time, it's letting Castro do the same thing. So we see him taking a little bit tighter entry on a few of these corners, just making sure to fill up Castro's mirror. Castro getting a later apex and a straighter drive off. That could be the difference, especially when it comes to saving tires. A couple of those corners, getting that good run off like that, you're going to save the rear tires a bit more than you would be if you're taking Alesh's line.
Of course. And now, Randall, I'm putting you in Alesh's seat right now. We're coming down the straightaway here. Is he going to go for it again? What are you doing if you're Alesh right now? You can see Castro defending the outside line. Looks like he's going to stay behind him this time. No, he's going to go for it again.
I don't think he's really going for it here. He's just showing the nose and letting Castro know that I'm here and I can strike at any point. I think if Castro defends the inside, he's tried to sell the dummy a few times. It didn't work out. Castro just closed off at the very last moment. I think I would just stay there on the inside, and when Castro goes to blend out, just send it a little bit deeper in there. Maybe use those fenders we were talking about. little bump and run to get around him.
Well, you can, but I don't think these fenders are actually it looks like a whole lot of fiberglass to me, so you may not want to use them too. But with that being said, again, these top three still battling hard in keeping their gap over Megan Overstreet, who has gotten past Antonio Reese. Guys, watch out for Megan. She is not slow. If she can get to him, I'd expect another battle, but Megan gets way on the curb there and almost loses it. Bobby, when do you start pushing? You can see these drivers are pushing all out, it seems like. Well, there's only 13 minutes into the session right now.
Megan is going to be pushing like mad right now. The gap over 1 second, as soon as it hits that 1 second mark, you lose the draft in this car. So it's vital to try and keep it. Dudu nearly had that 1 second gap on the first lap. So Alish did really well to get back this close, and he's going to do everything he can to maintain that position of that gap there. But Megan will be pushing hard now to close it back down.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great race we're seeing so far. Looks like Pleva still back there in second place. We do have some battles going on down the grid as well. Looks like we have someone off track, Adam Bradshaw, which is unfortunate considering he shares the same first name as I do. But got a bit of damage.
And look where it happened, too.
Yeah, got a bit of damage to that car as well. We'll see exactly what happened here.
We see he's following another car coming up the hill, going through this blind exit, and there's he runs the other car runs a little bit wide. They're not sure where they're at. Picks up a little bit of damage. That shouldn't be too bad, I would hope. Gets it going back in the right direction and rejoins safely.
Looks like we do have a bit of a broken overlay. Oh, it's back. Maybe. Let's see if we can get it back live now, guys.
More importantly, we've had an overtake for the lead.
We have, and this is a terrible time for the overlay to break. We're still in replay mode. Let me try to get this relay over. Sorry, guys. We can't get back live now. We might have to do it the old-fashioned way, which looks very ugly on the stream. But we're going to give it one more try, and then we're just going to have to fast-forward through everything. All right, yep, we're just going to fast forward, guys. So, everything's broken right now. Okay, we'll make it work. But, yes, we're looking now at Alesh Pleva, who has made the move. As you can see him going in fast motion in front of Dudu Castro. Unfortunate, guys. I am very sorry for the broken overlay, but I don't really know what to say here, Randall, so I'm going to give it to you while we fast forward.
I'm watching a replay of the pass itself, and it looks like Dudu had another problem with the triple left, ran a little bit wide there through the final apex, and Alesh just absolutely sent it up the inside on turn 5. There was a bit of contact. Dudu came under pressure from Jason Green afterwards and was able to clear him, and now you see him running 1, 2, 3, Alesh in the front, Dudu Castro running second, Jason Green running third.
All right, so we're going
to... So I was going to say it's also brought Overstreet and Raish back into the top 5 group now.
Yes, absolutely. So this is another battle that we're seeing. Race is right here, and so is Overstreet. Overstreet has dragged Reyes up to the back of this pack. Going to be interesting here. We're going to try to go. I don't know if I should. Should I do it, Randall? I'm going to do it. We're going to try to watch the pass here on Dudu Castro with Alesh Pleva. I hope it doesn't break here. We are going to get the replay, though. As we can see, ooh, lots of contact.
Really bombs it in there and makes some contact with the left rear quarter panel on the front fender of Dudu and manages to establish a bit of a gap that way. And now Alesh has opened that gap up to 1.4 seconds, so he may have even broken the draft a bit.
Yep, so we are broken replays, guys. We're not going to be able to show you any more replays for the rest of this race. So once we fast forward again, we are going to have to stay live, and I apologize for what you guys are watching right now, but welcome to technology sometimes. That's all I can say about that. Alesh Pleva still there in first place at the moment with Dudu Castro in second. Jason Green is still in P3. Megan Overstreet. So the S1s right now are taking the top 4, again, with Antonio Race, again, in the Masters in P5. So, I mean, this top 5 really going strong.
And they've kind of made a gap too. There's a bit of a gap from 5th back to 6th. Then we have 6th and 7th running together, and then another bigger gap back to P8. So we're really starting to see the drivers that are able to set off consistently fast laps are breaking away here. Some of these other drivers having issues, maybe having to chase the car a bit. And there has been a gap forming. We're seeing Antonio getting really loose there out of the service corner. And now a big run up the front straight. We got some lap traffic that they're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. We are. We're trying to get there as quick as we can here, guys. This is the only way I can get this thing to go fast forward right now. So we're just going to have to let this thing go back live. Again, I apologize to all the viewers. We're sitting at 11 viewers right now, and all 11 of you guys are probably wondering what's going on. When it comes
cars
to
are just really fast.
Yeah, very fast cars, very fast. When it comes to these overlays,
Alice just set a new lap record.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to overlays, you have to rely on third parties, and sometimes things break. And what you're seeing right now is a broken replay. So we cannot go back live when we go to replays. So when we do get back live, we're not going to be able to watch any more replays. We're watching in fast motion. Jason Green actually trying to make a move here on Dudu Castro, and Dudu really starting to fall back, Randall.
Yeah, this fight is really costing them time. And Alesh is now in the seat that Castro was in earlier, licking his chops, watching and is cheering on this fight as he drives off into the sunset. That gap right now in live timing is up to 2.1 seconds. So it looks like Castro and Green have worked this out and now are not fighting as much, but it really cost them some time.
It absolutely did. Yeah, 2.2 now. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier, is you cannot let that gap get over a second. And what have they done? Alesh is just absolutely gone right now. No mistakes, but like you said, lap traffic to deal with. Got the 72 in front of him. Hopefully. We saw last race, though, in the Formula Ford, that the lap traffic wasn't always the easiest to get through. Michelle in the chat said, watching the fastest SRFs ever. So, yes, thank you for making some comedy out of my pain as broadcast.
Lots of experience with multi-class racing has taught me one thing. Traffic is never fair. So just because one driver gets around lap traffic easily doesn't mean that the next driver is going to. Doesn't mean that just because the driver ahead only lost a 10th, you're only going to lose a 10th. You just gotta maximize it, maximize your gains, minimize your losses, and just try to maneuver it situation by situation to lose the least amount of time possible.
Yep, absolutely, and that is what they're trying to do right now, but it doesn't look like it's quite working for 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're really not gaining that much time. Again, like you said, no waiting on the traffic to come up, but minimizing losses. These guys really got to find a way to get back up there. I'm wondering, Randall, if Dudu's tires have gone a bit to the wayside.
I think maybe they were a little angry for a couple laps, but he seems to have settled in. I doubt that the amount of damage that he would have had from that hit would have caused much issue with his pace, but the gap is shrinking and growing depending on where they're at on track. It seems like right now Alesh is a little bit better in the slow corners and Castro is a bit better in the fast corners. Alesh is coming up on a lot of lap traffic now, so he's going to have to make a judgment call here for strategy. Does he dip into the pits early to try to get rid of some of this traffic? Or does he want to stay out and try to lead more laps to try to get those 3 bonus points?
So, Bobby, you mentioned last race that Randall hit it on the head with the traffic, and it looks like Alesh has stayed out. Judging by the last race, this may not be the best decision. He gets through one of them okay, but he's got one more to go.
Yeah, it seems a bit of a brave choice. It seemed a good opportunity there to pit. He's coming up with a lot of traffic, and this track, I mean, we're seeing it's twisty. A lot of people can make a lot of mistakes, quite simple. He's being brave. Well, so you see, even that's going to be quite close to getting through there.
Oh, no, this is not going well right now for Alesh, and he's got another lapper that's in front of him. He can't go anywhere right now. He's now boxed in, nowhere to go. Lap car on the inside, number 72 of Wes Shiflett, now getting by. This is not going well. This is not what Alesh needs, Randall.
The good news for him is that Castro is dealing with some of these same issues behind him. We've seen him run quite wide there through turn 6 and got out. Once he got out into the marbles, he just could not rein it back in and ended up picking up an off track there. But it looks like Castro is having some of the same difficulties getting through this traffic, but that gap has quickly evaporated down to 1.1 seconds. So Castro on the verge.
Castro is now there in that lap car, the 72 of Wes Shiflett. still in front, which is going to help Pleva down the straightaway. But they got to get there first. But it looks like Castro is just outside of that draft range. Maybe not. It's going to be close. It looks like we've got Gardini, someone falling through the pack here.
It looks like it may have been Gardini. We see
Race is out. He's in the pit lane. That's what it was. Race went into the pit lane there.
Yeah, and Green and Overstreet pitted the lap before, so they saw that traffic and they were bailing out of that.
This could be. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that Green and Overstreet battle here when it comes to pit time for these drivers. But Dudu is there again, Randall, and you know he's not going to make the same mistake twice.
That's the hope for Dudu, is that he does not make the same mistake. I see in the sim itself, I'm seeing Alesh getting on the radio, probably trying to get this lap traffic out of the way. Castro is breathing down his neck, and the last thing he wants to have to deal with is a slower car in front of him.
This is very unfortunate for Alesh, I will say. Lap cars in front, not knowing what to do. Alesh on the radio for very good reason at this point. He has been now stuck behind this lap car for a couple laps. Bobby, what do you do in this situation if you are Alesh? Do you have to go full send? I mean, Castro, oh no! Well, there goes the lap car we were just worried about. He definitely got out of the way there, but Bobby, I mean, Alesh's gap from 3 seconds just evaporated.
Yeah, he's missed his opportunity there, but he had good pace before they came across those lap traffic. So it looks like on the track map there's nothing for a while now. He's got the pace to make that gap again, or try and pull away from Castro, or force Castro into another mistake trying to keep up with him.
Well, let's hope so. As Gardini now into the pits, Claudio into the pits. Looks like pits are now coming hot and heavy. We're going to go back here. Looks like Overstreet and Green are now in 11th and 12th. We'll go back, see where they are. So keep an eye on where the leaders are. And this is where they are on track. So it looks like that is quite a long pit stop. But, man, Overstreet lost a lot of time to Green, apparently, in the pits.
Yeah, she's about 3 seconds in arrears right now, trying to close that gap up. Jason has a pretty big gap ahead of him as well. But those, you can see Gardini coming out of the pits right into this fight. So Megan's going to have her hands full trying to deal with Gardini. I don't know if these drivers take tires or not during this pit stop, but if they do, Bobby, do they take tires?
No, we won't be taking tires in this, but the gap between Jason, Green and Overstreet here could be that difference, because Overstreet was pushing to try and close that gap when she was in fourth. Green was sitting in third, just saving fuel at that point.
Absolutely right. That would be the big difference in that pit time. Right now, what we're going to see, though, is can Jason Green keep this pace up and deal with traffic until these two in the front pit? We see Alesh coming through the final corner. Dudu Castro right there on his tail. Neither of them dip into the pits this time by, so he's going to go by and lead another lap. Castro right on his gearbox. We'll see if he makes a move to the inside here, but I think for now he's just holding station. We see coming through the triple left-hander. Everything's looking pretty clean here. We saw Castro take a little bit of a look on the inside as they entered the corner, but I think it's just a difference in approach. There's some contact. Castro nudges him out of the way, then locks up. Maybe a bit of a return of service like they had whenever Alesh got around Castro. I hear a little bit of chirping going on in the sim on the radio, and now Castro is giving him the spot back. So Castro's determined that if he's not going to do it cleanly, he's not going to do it at all.
Well, he gave it back, then he took it right back again, Randall. He said, okay, I'll give it back to you, but I'm just going to take it right back. A bit Max Verstappen-esque there. But that's just a testament, a shout out to these drivers, all of these drivers in this field. The gentleman way of doing things. Castro knew he sent it in there maybe a little too deep, gave the spot back and took it right back. So, yeah, great driving. Bobby, I'm sure you can attest to that.
Well, yeah, but if they're letting themselves go, each other go after you through so many corners, Jason and Megan will be catching up and making that difference back.
Well, we're about to find out right now, aren't we, as LS Pleva is into the pits. So This is going to be the first test. Did they battle too much, letting each other go, lifting? There wasn't that big of a gap to deal with in the first place. So we're going to go to this pit lane cam here, and we're going to go to Jason, and we're going to see exactly where they are. So
you have a shot.
he did overshoot as well. So this is interesting here. Look, take a look at Jason Green. Going to be coming pretty quick here. Right now, actually. There he is.
It's like Green's going to come out the winner on this one. He's easily overtaken Lesh there on the pit stop. Lesh, not that overshot cost him a lot, and looks like he took a lot more fuel.
I would not expect that to cause, just the overshoot to cause that much of a gap. Yes, it will hurt him, but they were ahead before the round of pit stop started. But yeah, he had to have taken a lot of gas, Bobby.
Yeah, he's even come out behind Gardini and Overstreet as well. So, yeah, he's lost some extra time in there somewhere.
Now, the real question is, when does Dudu come in? When is he going to make this stop? He just saw, maybe he didn't, what happened with the Lesh. He doesn't want to make the same mistake. Again, I come back to you, Bobby. When it comes to heavy fuel loads, they're going to come in right now. Do the heavier fuel loads affect these cars at all on your outlap, even though you're not taking pit tires?
Maybe the more skilled person notices. I don't particularly make a notice of it myself. But yeah, obviously the fuel burning is quite high here because we're having the last people seeming to pit at the end of the 30 minutes, although I see Flavio Andalo's gone an extra lap.
He has. We see Castro there on pit exit right now. We've got Green coming down the pit straight here. We're going to go back to Castro, see exactly where he is. He's still on pit exit. Green is coming.
It's going to be real close. I think Castro's going to have the lead, but I think Green's going to get him.
Oh, my goodness.
He gets him before he even gets out of pit lane. Green, with the big brain strategy, takes the lead after the pit stop. You got to wonder how much that fighting between Alesh and Dudu really cost them. This is now Jason Green's going to try to drive off from these two.
He's going to try, but again, we've seen Castro be an extremely fierce race car driver in these last 30 minutes. We'll see if he can put it all on the line here. He's really got to do something. He's got to stay within that 1 second gap. Green has it to 0.8 of a second right now. Getting a little bit hairy now for Dudu.
Yeah, he's going to have to push. His tires will be nice and cooled off now that he's taken that pit stop. Jason hasn't really looked to be stressing his tires very much at all at any point during this race. Was taking it easy through the first section. Managed to save a bunch of fuel and helped him get in front, but haven't seen him fighting with anybody even, so his tires might be pretty good. Dudu just has a lot of pace.
Yeah, I mean, he has been able to keep it around that 7/8 margin. Look at how much it closes though in these low to mid-speed corners. Dudu is definitely there. Now he's going to be able to pull in a couple tenths of a second. We got Gardini here. We got an overtake. It looks like just on pit road here because Gardini is nowhere close to Dudu Castro right now. The battle for the win is right here. My goodness, Dudu got close to that pit exit wall.
You're using every inch of that track. We saw your Sevix there in the pits. Jason Green's still looking really, really smooth through here. So probably just trying to do his best to ignore his mirror. I imagine seeing that big black car there in the rearview mirror could be quite intimidating. That 73 definitely super fast, and it seems like he is the master at these slow speed corners, able to carry a few miles an hour into the apexes and really has closed this gap up. Now it's only 0.7 seconds.
Yeah, it is. We're going to go back here to Tom Gradwell. We haven't covered him yet. There's a bit of a battle going on back here as well. 0.3 of a second separate him and Kurt Nunez, which, as I said before we started the broadcast, Bobby, Kurt may have the most car I've ever seen. It is, by the way, Kurt, such a beautiful paint job, but that doesn't matter right now. Gradwell does lock up. That gives it about a second, so that is not going to be what Gradwell wants here. We've got Mr. Miney back here as well, still fighting in a battle of his own. Also a beautiful paint job. Trying to get past Andrew Love.
He is all over the rear end of the Love car, trying to get around him. You can't imagine if you're Andrew Love, you just see that big lippy grin behind you on that car. It's going to be hard to focus on the road ahead.
Oh man, some of the paint jobs that SRF cars have is just unbelievable. If you guys haven't looked at the paint jobs and Trading Paints, please go do that because they are hilarious. But when we say that, Miney has made a mistake as well. Now he's under threat, massive threat from Paolo Breme.
Yeah, it looks like he's a little bit faster in some of those downhill hairpins compared to Andrew Love, and got a little too close for comfort. A bit of panic braking, had to run wide, and it cost him a lot of time running up the hill. Now we'll see if he can slipstream his way back up to Andrew.
We're back up here to the leaders. Little Blue Neon saying, I'm betting that lap traffic really hurt Dudu and Elise. Jason and Megan made the right call pitting when they did, and we just saw this, Randall, an hour and a half ago in the Formula Fords that it really did make a massive difference.
Yeah, it made a massive difference. Jason now has inherited the race lead just from that one little strategy call. It may not be fastest lap times to pit when he pit, but when you take the traffic into account, it kind of speaks for itself. Now it's him and Dudu off in a battle for the lead with Brewster behind them. Brewster also has come out of nowhere, is running P3.
He is old, but not slow, old but fast. Brewster is still there dealing with a bit of lap traffic as well as Jesus goes into the pits, Joshua into the pits as well, Brewster into the pits. So this is now going to be Jason Green's race to lose. He's got 5.5 minutes. What is going through your head right now when you've got a Dudu Castro breathing right down your neck, Bobby?
Try not to look in your mirrors. I think that's the main thing. Pick your lines, focus your lines. I mean, I was in a race with Jason here. He's quick here. He's got a good speed. He's got good speed, and he's got good grasp of this track. So, try and pick your points.
Yep, you're going to have to. He's going to have to start going defensive. There really isn't much of a threat from behind, but it doesn't. Oh, no, it looks like Dudu's going to start pushing the issue here. They do have a lap car up there just a little bit. Maybe if Jason can stay ahead long enough, he outbrakes himself, though. Dudu goes from high to low, almost make contact.
There's a little bit of touchy there, I think, may have happened maybe with the 8 of netcode. And now, Jason is all over his rear end. Maybe a little bit of contact, and he's going to go for the inside move.
Oh, no, unbelievable
contact
racing.
There. Castro pinched him, but he left him enough space, and I think Jason may have just cooked it a little too much. Castro's going to go in the lead and maybe even break draft here. Jason's going to have to keep this cleaned up and cool those tires off and hope that the lap traffic can bring him back into contact with Castro.
If you look at his left front behind the left front wheel, there is a bit of damage to that car as well from the contact. We'll see if it really matters that much. Doesn't look like it's too bad, but definitely see. I know those things do come in just a little bit, but it looks like there's a little bit more damage than there it should be. But again, Mr. Castro still has to deal with lap traffic. That's going to be the big thing here. All's fair in love and racing, I would say, and I would say that was a fair move if I were him. Randall?
Yeah, so it looked like it all started with Green getting a bit of a bad run out of turn 5, this corner here, and that really opened up the door for Castro to make an outside move. And then he sent it right back at the bottom of the hill again, and Castro gave him just enough space, raced him really tight, and it just seems like a racing incident to me.
Absolutely. We've got Megan Overstreet now on the charge, trying to get past Claudio Gardini. Megan is doing whatever she can to get a top 3, a podium finish here. See if she can make it happen. That car has come to life in the closing stages of this race.
Gardini kind of was out of nowhere. We weren't really mentioning him much. He was running up there in the front pack, but we didn't really talk about him. He was up 3 spots on where he qualified, looking to grab the bottom step of the podium. Unless Megan has something to say about it, right now he's looking really good.
So what we haven't done yet is show the class display. Here you go, S1 Castro, obviously in first place, but Green is really closing this gap down. Castro starting to deal with some lap traffic here, and it's the same guy, Randall.
Yeah, the 72 is finding himself involved in another battle with leaders, and I tell you what, the worst position to be in is to be one of these blue flag cars, especially when you have some super aggressive, super fast drivers like Castro and Green coming up on you. You want to get out of the way, but a lot of times trying to get out of the way just makes you get in the way. So you're trying to be smart, and that's I think the 72 is doing a pretty good job right now. He's just kind of unlucky to have been involved in this many fights.
Now, this is Wes Shiflett, new to the league, and I am not saying anything that Wes has done is wrong. He's just, it's one of those things that you have to find a way to get around it. I mean, he's leaving room. He's doing what he has to do. Like you said, sometimes when you try to get out of the way, Randall, you get in the way. Right here would be a perfect time, and Wes has done it. That is the textbook way, by the way, guys, if anybody's watching this broadcast, of how to let a lead lap car around you.
Jason lost 0.7 of a second doing so, though.
Yeah, that was a big loss of time. There was an instant, a couple of corners earlier where he may have been able to pedal the car a little bit to let Jason around, but it was a very, very tricky spot on the track. That's the other thing. It's easy for us in the booth to say, just let him go. But with the elevation changes in some of these corners, it makes it really hard to run offline at all.
Yeah, and let's go to Bobby here when we talk about elevation changes, and I have driven these cars enough to know that they are extremely unstable under off throttle. They want to oversteer left and right, so you've got to be very careful where you do pedal the car to let a lead lap car around, because you can end up getting them in trouble as well as yourself.
Yeah, under braking, they do tend to have quite a lot of oversteers doing that, but understeer is the main trait of it, trying to get back on the throttle with this car.
It is crazy to me, these Spec 5s, as now he is just, oh man, poor Wes, just getting absolutely freight trained by all these guys in front. But it doesn't matter anymore, because we are now 30 seconds left in the race. Looks like Dudu Castro going to be able to take this one home. Are we going to get a checkered flag here? Probably. Of course, I did not check the stand again. See if it was a white flag or a checkered flag, but we're going to stay here on Dudu Castro. Again, in the Masters, Mr. Reese has won for now. Doesn't look like he's going to have much of a threat. Green there in second place, now 2.2 seconds behind. I'm wondering if that damage Randall really did hurt him.
It looks like it could have had an effect on him. He's definitely fallen off a bit more. That gap is 2 seconds, and he's got some lap traffic to deal with.
He does. We're
Thought
gonna
I saw
see
a puff of smoke there, but no, it's all clear.
Yep, all good. So here we go. Down the start-finish straight. Is this the checkered flag? It is. Mr. Castro wins the Week 3 SRFs here at Ledenon. Now we're going to have to go back here. We got a battle here with Miss Overstreet. Is she going to be able to make it happen? No. Claudio Gardini able to hold that position. Flavio Andalo in 5th place with Elise in 6th. That is very unfortunate for Elise. Antonio Reese comes home 1st in the Masters, 7th overall. Jesus Rodriguez coming home 8th. Joshua Justice coming home 9th. Tom Gradwell coming home 2nd. Who is it again? Same guy again, Randall. S2, Busa Roscoe.
He has a bit more of a gap this time over the P2 in that division, your Civics. So he's going to get a nice haul of points to help with that campaign. And we see some guys fighting. Absolutely, Jörg Manny trying to get one more spot there at the end. I think he pulled it off.
Did get it right at the line. Martin, he just got Todd Martin right at the line. We're going to see here. Looks like all of that is now over. I was way too into the battle on track with those drivers, so apologies that couldn't quite get things switched as quick as we could. We're just waiting for a couple more drivers now to come around and finish out, and then we will get you guys the results. Bobby?
Big mover this.
I was going to say they're all parking up for the jump that was discovered on this track the other day.
The jump. Where is that? Who do we got to go
if you
to?
check out Jason Green.
Okay, we will go to Jason Green now. Are we going on board? You go on board. Yeah, we're going on board. We're gonna see.
The big mover of this race is Joshua Justice, the number 99 car. He's up 7 spots from his qualifying position, so a great race for him, finishing P9.
All right, here we go. Actually, we're gonna go TV cam, see exactly where this jump is that they've discovered. Oh yes, All right, and now it's absolute carnage. Well, carnage for 2 drivers, but yes.
Yeah, but 2.
Joshua Justice there, like you just mentioned. We just went to him. Yeah, 7 positions. That was great drive by Joshua Justice. We've got some interviews to do, and of course, I've got that up again, and I apologize for that. But, we've got Antonio Reese here. He's going to be in here for the Masters win. I'm going to give it to you, Randall.
Antonio with the Masters win. Tell us about your race, Antonio.
Good night, guys. Well, I don't know this track. It was my first time for me, and then I have not much practice. But yeah, it was nice until I make something wrong. It was good. But I was fighting with the guys in the front, Jason and Megan, and then I have some accident with some left car, and then I lost all of that. But anyway, it was a good race. I enjoy. I have a good time with the guys. Things happen. No big deal.
So you had a pretty comfortable win this time. We saw you in the last race in the Formula Ford. You finished P2 behind Jurg, but this time it seemed like you didn't really have much pressure from any of the other Masters drivers. What was your key to just trying to stay up front with the leaders?
Yeah, as much points as possible. More in front, more points you get. But it also I have a lot of fun with driving with the other drivers, trying to to pass and all of that.
So you said you're not very familiar with this track. Which corner was giving you the most problems?
Oh, it was the last corner. The last corner was a really bad for me and difficult. I always don't know how to approach it, and I hardly can nail it anytime. So I was very cautious there.
Well, considering your lack of experience there at this track, you had a pretty dang good race. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Yes, thanks to Steve Ray, the organizer. He puts everything for us, and for you guys on the broadcast, for the sponsors, and as well for all the viewers and all the drivers. Yeah, that's my shout out.
Well,
Sorry
congratulations.
for my English. My English is not very good.
Always quite all right.
Antonio,
your English is better than Adam's.
I was going to say, your English
Thank
is better
you.
than mine, Antonio, and I'm from America, so you're just fine.
Thank you very much. Very good to know that. Thank you for your nice words.
All right, Antonio. Well, congratulations on the win. We'll let you get off
Thank
to your
you.
celebration, and hopefully we'll talk to you again up here sometime soon.
Yeah, hope to see you soon, guys. Yeah, take care. See you next time.
And that was your Masters winner, Antonio Race. And Adam, look who I found. It was Dudu Castro.
You have found Dudu Castro, and I'm going to give you Megan for the final. But Dudu, it was a race, my friend. You had some battles up there with Green, with Alace, but you came out on top. How did you make that happen? You had to be sweating.
I am totally sweat right now. I'm really wet now. But the problem is I didn't know the track was going to be that hot. So I knew I had a good set for the quali, but I was expecting that people would be using softer ARBs than I was, and that's what happened. They were using probably 1.1 or 2.2, something like this. I was much higher than usual that I used to run. And like for the third, fourth lap above, I started having difficulty with my car, and from that to the end. So I think I was lucky because I wouldn't catch Alice, but he had an issue with a lapped car, and that gave me one chance to catch him, and I couldn't miss the chance. Then I did. And then I was trying to nail the pit stop, but the problem is I didn't consider then after we pit, we gonna do one lap less than the software were telling me, and I think Jason did. So he did probably a faster pit than I did. Then he came out in front of me. And then was at the end, just a battle with Jason. He made a mistake on the hairpin. He allowed me to go side by side. And then we did like 2-3 turns side by side, but it's really tough this track to go side by side because, crazy turns with we can't see the turns and a lot of inclination. So at the end was good, but could be better if I had a better set. Maybe easier and not that sweat as I am right now.
Well, Dudu, it doesn't matter how sweaty you are because you won the race, and it doesn't matter what setup you were on because you won the race. Now, I have to ask you one question. It looked like most of the lead lap drivers, the lead cars, were getting themselves into trouble when it came to lap traffic, and I think that's really where Jason got the jump on you. He decided to come into the pits earlier, and you and Alace were battling. But with that being said, you were still able to get back to Jason, and you guys had a couple battles, and I can't remember if it was you and Alace or you and Jason. You made some contact. It was you and Alace. You made some contact, and you let Alace back by. I do want to commend you. Great job, by the way, for being that much of a gentleman when it comes to that. But do you think that hurt your chances coming out of the pits against Jason?
Well, I had contacts with both. First, when Alice passed me, he gave me an axe. He dove inside, but it was okay. It's part of the race. It's a contact game, so we try to avoid as most as possible, but sometimes we can't. Then, when the lapped car made me catch him, we had another contact, but that was a net code I just saw right now. We didn't even touch it for real. But that, yes, you were right. We were wasting time against Jason. So that made Jason short their gap from us. Then when I left the pit, I had a few touches with Jason. So, but it was all fair touches. We're trying to avoid each other, and I hope we end up well at the end of the race.
I hope you guys.
I'm glad.
Yes, I hope you guys end up well at the end of the season. This was great racing, I have to tell you, Dudu. That was an absolutely amazing show by all of you guys. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go?
No, yeah, of course I do. Of course, you guys that are coming for the first time, I really welcome you guys. I hope you enjoy broadcasting our league. My family that allow myself to do this kind of stuff on Sundays, and of course all the guys that race in the league. They're all fair and clean guys.
Well, Dudu, I will tell you that I have a wife as well, and she's sitting on the couch while I've broadcasted 2 races this afternoon, and I'm going to drive one this evening. So, yeah, I do get your shout out to the family. The family, you've got to have a good one to allow you to do this stuff. So thank you, Dudu, so much. We hope to catch you again soon.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, that was Dudu Castro there, winner of the S1 class. And you know what? We've got Megan Overstreet in here. We couldn't get Wilson in here, so Randall, I'm going to give you Megan this time because I took her last time.
Megan, 2 races on a Sunday, 2 interviews. How does it feel?
Feels good, especially since this is my first time racing on this track.
It seems like this track might favor people that don't have much experience with it, as Antonio was saying the same thing. What was your race like out there?
It was pretty much a struggle bus for me. I was down on pace a little bit because I was still having issues with a few corners since I'm just not really used to the track. But there near the end, when I went into the pits, I took way too much fuel. I had almost 2.5 laps worth of fuel at the finish line. I was so hoping we'd go one more lap than what the calculator was showing, but unfortunately we went white flag. So I couldn't do much with Claudio there at the end.
So when we were setting up for the broadcast, we were watching you do a little bit of pit practice, and I remarked that you must be doing some sort of real life racing the way that you were utilizing the 2 lanes in pit lane. And a little bird told me you just recently started doing some real life driving. What's going on there?
Yeah, so last year in the Ray Esports Racing League, Grass Paddock Motorsports was sponsoring the T4 Jetta class. And they were doing a scholarship award for 1 SCCA licensed driver and 1 non-licensed SCCA driver to get to drive one of their cars for a weekend. For the SCCA driver, they'd get to do it in a race weekend. For the non-licensed driver, they get to do it in a competition school to start the process of getting their competition license. And I happened to win the non-licensed SCCA scholarship, so I got to go to Waterford Hills earlier in April and do my first time live driving stuff. So that was a blast, and I did fantastic. So now I got to get myself 3 races so I can get my license.
Waterford Hills in Waterford, Michigan?
That's correct.
That's a tricky little course. I have seen that myself. It's not the easiest.
That's a fun track. I love it.
Well, congratulations on another good race today. Hopefully we'll see you up on the top step of the podium. Before we let you go celebrate, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thanks, Stevie, for putting on the series, of course. All of our members that are sponsoring the first half of this season, and y'all for doing the broadcast. All the folks out there that are watching us and my family, thank y'all so much.
All right, that's another great race from you, Megan, and hopefully we'll have more interviews with you in the future. Congratulations, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, thank you.
That was Megan Overstreet there, P4 overall, also P4 in S1. Well, that rounds out our first ever broadcast of Ray Esports on a Sunday, Randall. I had a good time. What about you?
Oh man, my Sundays just got a lot better. This has been some awesome racing, and I hope to see more of it.
It's been unbelievable, and a massive shout out to Bobby West. Thank you so much for coming in here and kind of giving us the ins and the outs of the league. And by the way, Bobby, if we don't ever see you up here in the booth again, you're not a bad commentator, so I might try to hire you if you
Thanks. You know what? As a very small child, I thought, I'd be a good commentator. To be honest, I would prefer being in the car.
Fair enough. Hey,
maybe it's not my natural gift after all, but there you go. But no, thank you guys for organising this and putting it on such short notice as well. It's been much appreciated by it.
Yeah, absolutely, Stevie. I tried to recruit one of your drivers. It didn't work, so you can have him back. But no, thank you so much, Bobby, for everything you've done for the league and for everything you're doing for slow motion broadcasting. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to bring up the upcoming streams here. We got one more for you guys tonight. Cross Series League Racing starting at 8:10 tonight. Tune in. Tim Cox is going to be on the call. You'll see yours truly driving. We're driving the asphalt street stocks around Bristol. Should be a great time. You should see a lot of wrecks, which we didn't see today. So, yeah, tune in for that one. And then we don't have one until next Sunday. We're coming straight back to this track again in a week's time, 1:45 p.m. Eastern in the Formula Ford for the Ray Esports FF. And then a little later on, about an hour later, 2 hours later, we've got the Spec Racer heading to Monza. Bobby, you're going to be in that race, I hope. What are your thoughts?
I hope to be. I'm away that next weekend, but I should be back in time.
Well,
it's going to be a draft fest, I think, at the end of the day. We've got slipstream.
It absolutely will be. You guys aren't running the combined, which is good because you want to talk about draft fests. It would be the combined circuit.
Yeah, people didn't like that idea when I proposed it.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. But until then, guys, I have been Adam Thompson, joined as always in the booth by Randall McGrew. Special guest Bobby West. Bobby, I can't thank you enough, and I hope to see you out on the track next weekend. Until tonight, guys, when Tim Cox signs back in, see you then.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes. There's
that was
our
the
Budweiser.
biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but